And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the African American Athlete. It's been a minute, but I'm Rickey Hampton with my friend and frat brother, Michael Roberson, coming to you on a Wednesday evening, hump day. Hope everybody got over the hump. Mike, we've been summer vacation the last couple of weeks, man. But it's good to see you. I've been vacationing. You've been humping, brother. You got to be the hardest working sports writer in America. James Brown's the hardest working man in show business. You're the hardest working brother in sports journalism. How you
Well,
doing, man? How you doing, brother?
I'm all right. I'm all right, and it's good to see you again. But yeah, and also school started back up now, so I got that. And what's weird is that for me growing up in my early days of teaching, school didn't usually start to after Labor Day. Now I'm starting to beginning of August, so I'm like, where did the summer go? And I've had a pretty arduous summer, even though I've been real busy. I had some nonsense happen with my car, so I'm finally getting back to myself with my car, my whip, and it's a prize whip. I had it for a while. This is the longest I've ever had a car, so knock on wood. But I had some issues this summer, so I didn't do much traveling. I didn't get to make it to the NABJ in Cleveland. I didn't get a chance to get to our conclave in Phoenix. So there was a couple things I wanted to do, but now I'm trying to make sure I prepare for the big homecoming in the Music City against the Bison. So let's see if the Bison.
When is that game, Mike?
October 18th.
Okay,
October 18th in Nashville against, and of course we took care of business in DC last year. This is a 2-4 in a home and home, so we beat them down in DC for their homecoming, and now they should get the beat down here. Now, and also we have a new coach.
TSU has a new coach.
We have a new coach, so we gotta see ingratiate ourselves with him and see how he keeps the tradition going, because Eddie George did a good job.
Reggie Barlow,
right. So, and here's the thing, people are like, well, why would Eddie leave? He's doing the same thing Deion did. Well, the school was in flux for a while, the last couple of years, and then we got I don't want to say a windfall because we're still owed money, and I don't want to get into the politics of it, but we got somewhat of a windfall that kind of righted the ship. So we should be all right. And, Eddie had to do his thing, and, he was coach of the year last year, so he left on a good note. And we'll see what happens with this new regime and what, we got the John Merritt Classic coming up, Alabama A&M, I believe. So, we'll see how the season starts. But, of course, homecoming is going to be big because we're going against, as they call it, HU. And, of course, Hampton also uses that.
The real HU. Both of them say the real HU.
HU. So, but they call Howard the Mecca, of course. But we've already gone to the Mecca and done damage. So now they have to come to the Ville.
Yeah, and Eddie George left to come to Ohio. Right. He's a legend in Ohio from his Ohio State days, and he's at Bowling Green. And look, man,
that's not too far away though.
Yeah, those jobs. Jobs at TSU and Jackson State. Those are jobs coaches try to move up in competition and pay.
Except for Eddie Robinson.
Yeah, well, somebody should have come and gotten Eddie, but we know why that didn't happen. Somebody should have come and gotten John Merritt, but they came along at the wrong time. Those were great coaches. There wasn't nobody hiring black coaches in their prime. So, hey, I have no issue with that, man. But Reggie Barlow is a very good coach. He coached the D.C. team in the UFL.
Right.
And I think they may have won one or lost in the finals.
And I think there was maybe ex-TSU player on there too. So
yeah, Chris Rowland.
That combination.
Chris Rowland played.
Right. Yeah, Chris Rowland. Yeah, and of course his mother I think was there when I was there. Because I know we're Facebook friends and all that. And but I'm trying to remember, was she there with me, or was it, slightly before me or after me? But I think she
I
was
think
there.
she was in there right around you when you were
Right.
there.
Because that's, that would, if you really look at it, and I had to go back and forth with something, and I hate to call people idiots, but these
Yes,
ignorant
wait a minute, say it again, Mike.
ignoramuses that sit there and try to. Oh, this is the one that killed me. Okay, so they had like some tiers, and then I already had to know it was some BS anyway. They had tiers of black HBCUs, right? And the source was something South Carolina State, what's called. So somehow South Carolina State is in the top tier, and they got us in the second tier. I said, whoever did this, you guys are idiots, because TSU was the winningest team in 1AA history when I was in school. And then we have the most championships. Now, FAMU just tied us, but how can we have the most national championships and be the winningest team in 1AA history and not be a top tier team? And most of the teams they had up there were SWAC schools. I said, we were independent. I said, we were the equivalent of Notre Dame for the black colleges. We were the independent team, but we were the upper echelon team. We're the big school. But so I was going back and forth with them.
Yeah,
said,
that was whoever that was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's the kind of idiots you have to deal with. And then, of course, they'll have these polls where they'll have all the bands and the aristocrat, which tells you that we're the top. The aristocrat of bands is not on there. And I said, you know what? I'm not even going to pay attention to this. It's just like all these idiotic LeBron versus Jordan. Then we want to squeeze in Kobe. Then T-Mac talking about he would have done the same thing if he was with Shaq playing with the Lakers. So it's just becoming monotonous and ridiculous.
But you know what? Going back to this, I don't know who did the poll, but I think what hurts TSU's legacy really now is being in the OVC.
Oh yeah,
discount them, man.
Yep.
And I hate the fact they joined that conference. In my mind, there have been a few good things, with the basketball,
right.
But overall, that joining that conference has been a detriment to that school. TSU used to always be near the top in attendance for football in the 80s and 90s. Well, in the 70s and 80s before they joined the OVC in 87.
Well, let me tell you.
86.
Well, see, that's the thing that's weird about it. They say 86. Same thing they said for basketball, because I was looking at some little thing there. But technically, we weren't really in it until 87, because I remember I was writing for the meter at the time. And then that's when, we went in there basketball-wise. Football-wise, I think both of them, that we played one or two schools, and then they tried to say we were in the conference, but we weren't fully into it. I remember we were fully into it, 87.
I remember I covered the first OVC game. It was against Youngstown State.
Right.
And TSU lost by a point. The guy shot the ball after the buzzer, clear as day, and they counted the basket. I'm like, welcome to the OVC.
Oh, yep, that's it. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that I say is that when people talk to me about this, because I had some little young guy on the Kappa cruise last year say, yeah, you guys aren't a black college anymore, are you? I said, dude, where are you getting your information from? I said, we're still predominantly black. But I'd say to people, I said, I was probably at the point of the last moments of it being old school HBCU.
You were.
And then by the time I left, I started to see the changes, because right after I left, all of a sudden they refurbished all the campus stuff. Now the student union building is torn down, and they made the new one that looks like a mall. So it's like, that's when I said, okay, because they were trying to change the demographics. So since you change the demographics to a certain persuasion, then they can't live in those conditions that these colored folks used to live under.
And Mike, And there are people that were happy that guy asked you that question. Are you still a black college?
Right.
To your point, there are people who are happy because that's what they wanted to do with TSU, man. And yeah, but to your original point, TSU is, you're right, they're the Notre Dame of black college football. And that's it. They're the Notre Dame of black college football.
And that's why it was so ironic that TSU played Notre Dame for that historic moment a couple years ago that I happened to go to. And that's precisely why I was going. I said, you know what? I've never been to the Golden Dome, even though I grew up in the Midwest and that's Notre Dame or South
right down the street.
But I never made it there. So I said, man, wait a minute. This is going to be a historic moment with my alma mater. There's no way I'm going to miss this. So I made sure I'm going to go there, then go home, and then try to catch another historic place, Wrigley Field, with the Giants being in town. So it just was one of those perfect storms where I said, I'm going to hit all this. And remember, we were trying to have a rendezvous, but you didn't make it down there.
Yeah, right. But you look at, I don't know what that poll said, but the hierarchy of black college football, TSU, Grambling, FAMU, those Jackson State,
and so
that's the big four to me.
Oh yeah, the big four. This stuff, South Carolina State. I was like, dude, how you even got them up here?
They're in the top 10, but they're not on the level of TSU, FAMU, Jackson State, and Grambling, and Southern's right under that.
Yep.
Then you get into South Carolina State and maybe A&T, but that's only recently with
A&T is recently, right?
A&T. And that's why, man, when they were doing all these classics, man, if you didn't have TSU for those classics to really work, you needed TSU versus FAMU, TSU versus Grambling, Grambling versus Jackson State, something like that.
Right.
And of course, to their credit, Southern jumps up in there because of the big game they play.
Yeah.
But like we got a game coming here to Detroit in a couple of weeks, actually, before the end of the month. They're playing at Ford Field.
Right.
We got Central State versus Kentucky State. I mean,
it's good for the area, though.
I ain't nothing.
It's big in the Midwest.
Yeah, Central State, but
I got you.
That is not going to.
I got you. But think about this, though. Think about this.
They'll get 20, 25,000.
Well, but think about this, though. I just saw something that, this was sent to me, that it's going to be another classic in Las Vegas. Now, back in 2002, so the year after I got out here, it was called the Silver Dollar Classic, and they played it over at the UNLV Stadium. I forgot the name. So in the first game, the inaugural game was TSU versus Grambling. So I said,
really?
I said I'll drive down there. So I drove 8 hours down to Vegas, and I said I gotta be there for that. And at one of the practices, AT, Anthony, we call him AT, but he played for TSU. Yeah, and he's a Newt now. So we were sitting there talking, and all of a sudden, Grambling, I guess, just finished practice, and I guess TSU was going to practice. And I sat next to Doug Williams and got a chance to chat with him. I interviewed him and all that.
Was he coaching the team at that time?
Yeah, he was coaching Grambling there. Yeah, so that was a big moment for me. And then they ended up beating us. And then I think they played one more the following year. Then it all dissolved. Then out of the blue, I'm on a plane one day, and the guy saw my TSU gear. He said, "Oh, you TSU?" I said, "Yeah." Then he said, "Hey, you guys played at that Silver Dollar Classic." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I'm one of the coordinators." And I said, "Well, what happened? Why did it just dissolve?" He said, you know what? Certain people try to get involved, and I'm not going to get all into it because then we'll get banned again. So either certain people try to get involved and it messed it all up, so we just got rid of it. So now,
what did they have for attendance at first?
You know, because it was over at Boyd, I think it's called Boyd Stadium. Because it was over at UNLV, you know, it didn't probably look as well. It was a big crowd there because you know Grambling and TSU.
I bet at least 30 or 40.
I would have to look it up, but now they're having a new incarnation, and I think they might play over at Allegiant Field. So this is supposed to be, I think Grambling Jackson State. They're gonna be playing at in Vegas, and I was thinking about that, and I said, man, I can't do that because I'm probably gonna go down there for a couple of games, you know, for the Raiders, but I got to have everything saved up to go down to Nashville for homecoming. So I won't be able to make that one. But I was like, man, that's a good deal that they got black college football back in Vegas, especially now with that, you know, new arena.
Yeah. Well, it's right around the corner, man. And hopefully all the HBCUs. But we got to get past some of this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
It's a situation going on now with Mississippi Valley and FAMU. Have you heard about this? Mississippi Valley announced that they were going to play FAMU in Atlanta in the I forgot the name of the Falcons.
Yeah.
But nobody in Atlanta knows about it. So the people at FAMU said, hey, we hadn't heard anything about it. As far as we know, they're playing at Mississippi Valley. Mississippi Valley has announced that it's going to be in Atlanta. But nobody knows. I mean, that's
terrible.
It's terrible. So like now, you're trying to make plans. Well, where? Where am I going?
Especially when we used to play FAMU on a regular in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then remember when we started beating them, they were like, oh, yeah, we got to stop this.
Yeah. The 100 black man. Yeah. And that game would have 40, 50,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you remember the games at Tennessee State? At Vandy?
At Vandy, yeah, at least 40. I remember like 40, maybe 40 to 50, I think, at home.
Yeah, shoot, without drunk Vandy at the
Exactly. And I went to a couple of Vandy games, you know, just on a whim. Somehow I get tickets. I said, man, let me go check out some SEC action. So I think I saw Florida.
Somebody probably paid you to go.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a big difference. And you know, it's, you know, that's how it is, though. But, you know, of course, it was all about, but we're going over there playing in that big stadium, but we're getting all our concessions over to Vandy. So that was always the catch-22 is that we're not reaping the benefits, even though we're bringing in all those people and all those butts in the seats. And because we couldn't do all that over at Hale Stadium, I think maybe, you know, because I know we played Western Kentucky my sophomore year. And I remember saying, what kind of homecoming is this? Because our first one, I think, was Morgan State. So, you know, black college from Baltimore. But then when we played Western Kentucky, I was thinking like, okay, I don't know what's happening here. That's when I started to say, okay, we're going to start having these boring homecomings. Then we had Grambling, though, third year, my junior year, and that was the 75th anniversary. Unfortunately, we got blown out, and Eddie was still coaching then. And then my last year, we went against Southern. So 3 of the 4 years, homecoming was against black schools, except for that sophomore year was the Western Kentucky one. But that was the best homecoming concert because that was Cameo. So that's the contrast. That our best homecoming aesthetically away from the football game was that one in '86 when Cameo came. That was awesome. That was awesome.
What's the Big Blue schedule now this year? Okay, they got the
John Merritt.
No, yeah, but the John Merritt Classic, that's not Tennessee State. Tennessee State Tiger.
Like I said, I think that's against Alabama A&M. And
yeah, I think you're right. That's going to be.
Yeah, I got the
No, they play A&T August 30th. So that's one HBCU. The next week, Alabama A&M.
Okay.
Okay. and then they got Eastern Illinois. No, I'm sorry, Michael. Let me start over. August 30th, A&T. Then North Dakota State comes to Nashville.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, September 6th.
They destroyed us last year.
They are powerhouse. Then Alabama A&M. Yeah. Then it's OVC time. Tennessee Tech, Eastern Illinois, Southeast Missouri. October 18th, Howard for homecoming. So that's 3 HBCUs. Then Western, Lindenwood, UT Martin, Gardner-Webb, and Charleston Southern. And don't nobody want to see them games.
That's what I'm saying.
Nobody wants to see
homecoming. People gonna stop paying attention after homecoming. Unfortunately.
Yeah. And maybe if they mess around, get back in the playoffs. Oh, okay. Well, let's go watch them.
Yeah, exactly.
If they get in the playoffs, well, of course, I hope they do. But that is to me, that's one of the great blunders of all time. Them joining the Ohio Valley Conference. Yeah. But Mike, I got another college football question for you. With the season right around the corner, since we just kind of kicking it tonight, getting caught up on things. What do you think? How do you think Bill Belichick is going to do at UNC?
Well, here's the irony of it. Since you're speaking of just out of the blue, Bill Belichick, that's our conference now. Even though I'm way out here in California, we're in the ACC. And not only do you have Bill Belichick at UNC, we got another hero quarterback. Frank Reich is our interim quarterback, our interim coach out here at Stanford. So it's interesting to see what they'll do. I don't know if we play North Carolina this year because of the ACC and all these conferences are so big now. You got alternative schedules. You don't have that basic. We play each team every year like I used to be in the
I'm looking it up right now, Mike.
Yeah, but I don't think we play them. We play in Miami, so I don't really know if I'm going to see it up close and personal, but I don't know. I really don't know how good North Carolina is or was, and I don't know how much Bill Belichick is going to make a difference, especially there's a lot of people saying, yeah, he won't do anything because he won't have Tom Brady. People want to rip his accolades apart. So we'll have to see if he brings his magic down to Chapel Hill.
They come out to Cal.
Oh, they play Cal. Okay, there you go.
Friday, October 17th. That's going to be interesting to see if he can relate to these kids.
Right. Yeah, so that's the thing about it is that, it's interesting to be in this conference now, especially with all the changes that have happened to it. So you don't have that traditional situation where you're going to see the team every year. So that's what I'm saying is that Miami came out here to Cal last year and were getting blown out. And then they came back and won miraculously. And it's like, of course, people out here saying that, man, Cal choked that game away. But Miami, and maybe that's what got your boy the number one pick. So you got that, and then Florida State fell off the wagon. Remember, they were a perennial power, so it's hard to really say who's going to be the best team in the ACC. And we'll see if Frank Reich can bring some life back to Stanford because they've been, their debut into the ACC was not that great. Basketball-wise, we were actually pretty good, but, just couldn't get it done all the way. And so, it's year 2 in the ACC, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
David Shaw is here in Detroit now with the Lions.
Oh, yeah, I remember he took an NFL job, yeah.
He's an assistant with the Lions. Now, and going back to HBCU football, we got, Deion's gone, Eddie George is gone, but we got 2 high-profile NFLers going to the, more than 2, but the biggest names are Deshaun Jackson, who's taking over at Delaware State, and Michael Vick taking over at Norfolk State.
Now, is Hugh Jackson not coaching anymore?
I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to remember. Wasn't he at Grambling? Because remember he was an assistant
Yeah,
coach.
but he's not at. He's gone from Grambling.
I remember he was assistant coach at TSU. Didn't get the Grambling job, but yeah, I don't know what's happened since then though. Okay.
Well, you got another NFL. Sam Shade is at. He's at North Carolina A&T.
Okay.
So Shade, Deshaun Jackson, and Michael Vick. That's going to be really interesting. You know, Michael's from the Tidewater area. He's a legend up that way.
Well, let's not forget Ed Reed was supposed to be in Bethune-Cookman, but we know what a disaster that turned out to be. So what does he do? He leaves that whole post unceremoniously and becomes a nuke. Isn't that amazing?
He becomes what?
A nuke. He's a
Ed
Kappa.
Reed just plays Kappa?
He's a Kappa. Yeah.
All right, man. That's all right. I didn't know.
I'm saying that's why I can't hate on him too much, but I'm like, that whole thing, I just didn't like the way that went. It's like he went in there. I guess he thought he's gonna have the same majesty as Deion had down in Jackson, and and of course for us, we're upset about what he did to the Southern Heritage Classic because that's gonna. I don't know how long that's gonna last now. Now that they messed up the TSU Jackson State matchup. I don't know. I think it was I think it was either Arkansas, Pine Bluff, or somebody ended up playing in that game, and it just wasn't the same. And then of course with all the money issues, TSU didn't even play last time. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Southern Heritage Classic now. I hate to have doom on a classic that's been around that long, but I don't know.
Yeah,
so
the classic.
That was one of the big missteps right there.
Michael, they made too many. They tried to have too many classics with teams that just don't draw like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Just like this game here, Central State and Kentucky State. I mean, that's no real football tradition. Central State, you're right. They got a big alumni here in Detroit. But Kentucky State doesn't really have a footprint, and they don't have the name recognition.
Right.
See, that's what Tennessee State had, the name recognition, man. They could go anywhere.
Yeah.
Grambling could go anywhere. Jackson State could go. And these people thought, anyway, my poor Virginia Union, I mean, that's my alma mater. But, man, we can't be going playing a classic in New York City thinking folks going to show up.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about it is that they had some waning moments with the Circle City Classic where they would be doing that. They wouldn't get the big names after a while. I mean, think about this. My freshman year, we're in the Circle City Classic against Mississippi Valley. One problem.
I was at that game.
One problem. Jerry Rice was already gone to the NFL. He was in his rookie year. I was like, man, come on, man. I miss Jerry Rice that close. Because I was thinking, like, we're not playing Mississippi Valley. So, and I looked at the football schedule. I said, oh, my God, we're playing them. But he was already a rookie out here with the 49ers. So I never got a chance to see him play in college. But I actually saw him play with the Raiders when I first moved out here. So I have seen him play live. But it wasn't, that Totten connection with the Mississippi Valley. I forgot what is their nickname? Mississippi Valley State.
Doggone it.
That's what I'm saying. Because
Valley.
Mostly everybody's a tiger in black college football, but you got the Rattlers and
the Devils.
Devils, okay.
The Mississippi Valley Delta Devils. Yeah, I think that's right. Like Mike, I just looked up the Circle City. This is the 41st Circle City.
Right. Yep.
And they have Miles College versus who is this? Morgan State versus Miles College.
I told you. I said.
I mean, Morgan got some history, but
Yeah.
Mouse College, come on, man. Come on, man. Who? Y'all
See,
not saying
they should have been Morgan State against Central State. At least that would have been a
right.
regional thing there. You got Central State, you got Baltimore, and Central State, which is in Wilberforce, so right across the street.
Come on, man. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When we make a segue,
I mean, I'm enjoying this conversation because we
Right.
get the chance to. We haven't spent this much time on HBCUs in a while.
Right? No, I totally agree, and we got to have our quarterback guru on, you know, because he just put his poll up there, right?
I just got an email from him about the.
Yeah, so definitely, you know, when we all three get together, we love talking college football. But I'm saying that if we make a segue to baseball, I gotta acknowledge my hometown Brewers, 12 straight.
12 straight.
And for the people in Milwaukee and the surrounding areas, we have a restaurant, and I'm giving them a plug. So hopefully you guys send me a free hamburger. But George Webb is a restaurant in the area. I used to go to a lot too, out there on. I think I was out by a 4 mile road.
Soul food?
No, it's not soul food. Unfortunately, not. But no, it's just like a diner. But it's a diner, but it's like a chain diner. It's called George Webb. And after 12 straight wins, they get free burgers for everybody.
Wow.
Well, I know everybody's there now because they just won 12 straight. So It's a great thing to see the Brewers looking this good. But unfortunately, they've looked good, over the years, but they fizzled out badly in the playoffs. And that's what I'm worried about. That's why I'm not getting too excited. And but it's good to see them taking over the Central Division in the National League and looking pretty good. And then of course they got Murphy as their manager, because remember their former manager, a Wisconsinite, is down in the Wrigley Field with the Cubs. So a lot of people are really mad at him because the Cubs have become the Brewers' rival now that they're in the National League. So that's a big deal. And it's 90 miles away. So, you got that rivalry, the I-94 rivalry. So we'll see if either one of them, because the Cubs look like they could be a wild card. So we'll see if the Brewers can maintain this. And this could be the year it finally happens, because all the big four, I won't even go into soccer because all we got is the team Chicago. But the big four sports, every team in my area has won at least once in my lifetime, except the Brewers. So that's why this will be a huge moment if the Brewers finally do win it all. Then every team that was in my area, and in my lifetime, will be have won, because the Packers got 4 Super Bowls, the Bucks got 2 championships. But then Brewers have none. And then we have the Braves won, but that doesn't count because that's a Milwaukee team, but it's not the team that's in place now. This team, the Brewers, are the former Seattle Pilots. And Buzz Selig was a used car salesman, no pun intended, but he went out there and got the Seattle Pilots team back in 1970s. So they transformed to
and then became commissioner of baseball.
Exactly. He became commissioner later. That's why it was one of the weird cycles. And then here's another thing. He and Herb Cole grew up in the same neighborhood in Milwaukee.
Wow.
And they went to school, University of Wisconsin together. But it gets even crazier. Years later, the Trail Sprewell grows up in that neighborhood.
And tell our viewers about Herb Cole.
Herb Cole was the former owner of the Bucks and also was a U.S. senator. So he made
his money through the
Kohl's department stores. I mean, well, it's kind of confusing because they have Kohl's grocery stores and they also have Kohl's department stores. So I believe it was the department store he was part of. I can't remember. But now, he's been a philanthropist, before he passed away with there's an arena up in Madison, the University of Wisconsin, called the Kohl Center, named after him.
Wow.
I think they played basketball games there. And then, of course, he and Bud had grown up together and known each other for years. And so, but it got kind of real shaky when he's owning the Bucks, and then when 1994, all the prognosticators, all the NBA media and everybody like that said, well, guess what? The 1994 draft, the number one pick should get $100 million. That's what they threw out there in 93. I'll never forget it. I said, oh, man. So then guess what happens? A black player from the rough streets of Gary, Indiana, ends up being the number one pick with a black agent named Dr. Tucker. Now all of a sudden, like, how dare you guys ask us for $100 million? And then Herb Cole,
Tucker's from Michigan State.
Exactly. He was Magic's agent in the beginning. So then, and I knew Dr. Tucker well. I used to have him on my show and everything. So then, all of a sudden, they said, Dr. Tucker said, okay, you guys got the number one pick. It's the big dog. Where's the $100 million? He said, well, I don't know why you think I wish you give him $100 million when, he might as well own my team. So then they come with the cheap look, and then they make them look greedy. So then Big Dog sits out. He sits out the beginning. Well, he holds out. Holds out the beginning of the season, and all of a sudden now he's painted as a greedy player. And on top of that, he's a greedy player, and he's a Prop 48 player when he was at Purdue, and he's also from the rough streets of Gary, Indiana. Whereas the number 2 pick is a smooth California guy from out here in Alameda, really from Oakland, but he went to school in Alameda. And he's a lovable guy. And the number 3 pick is our golden boy, even though he's African-American, because his mother was a roommate with Hillary Clinton, and his father was a football star with the Dallas Cowboys. So that whole painting of the picture was there. So then all of a sudden they settled on $68 million for 10 years. And then Grant and Jason got their contracts. They had to wait for the number 1 pick. So then and all of a sudden everybody's in love with Grant Hill. Grant Hill ended up with the most votes, not out of rookies, out of all players in the entire NBA. That's how he was a starter in the All-Star game. Jason and Glenn had to play in that rookie game. So then, of course, when they get to the end of the year, even though Big Dog's leading all rookies in scoring, and the Bucks just barely missed the playoffs by 1 game, they said, you know what? This greedy guy doesn't deserve Rookie of the Year, so I'm going to really insult him and give it to Grant Hill and Jason Kidd. On top of that, we're going to show how much we really don't like him, is we're going to now install a rookie salary cap. So Joe Smith, you're out of luck. And that's what happened. That's what happened from 94 to 95. Forget that they said the number 1 pick should get $100 million. How dare you? No, we didn't say that. You misunderstood us. Yeah, no, that's what the market was supposed to have been. So that's the whole Big Dog.
You got it on tape.
That's what I'm saying. So that's how that whole scenario happened. And but yeah, Dr. Tucker and I used to talk all the time. Like I said, I had him on the show. I was supposed to get Big Dog on, but then all of a sudden we had some nonsense happen at the station where we had a switching of positions, and our program director, who's also a frat brother, our program director ended up leaving, and the music director took over. And then she said, you know what? We prefer music over sports, so we're going to have to take the show off. Then I go to the Bucks game, and Big Dog comes out the locker room and says, hey, Mike, want me to be on your show tonight? I said, and check this out. Andre Rison was in town because Dr. Tucker had Andre Rison and Big Dog as his clients. And he was
that when Andre was with the Packers?
It was before he got to the Packers. It was when he was doing his free agency run. So I could have had both of them on that night. So that's what I said. This is unbelievable. So yeah. So folks out there, so this could be a very evil profession and unfair. So you see what just happened there.
Well, we're talking baseball here. I want to give my little shout out here. Check this out.
And with that, Jen Powell makes history, becoming the first female umpire in Major League Baseball to make a call at home plate. The ball likely headed to the Baseball Hall of Fame. where the cap she wore in her umpiring debut Saturday will also be on display. That's when Powell smashed the MLB's gender barrier as the first female umpire to work a regular season game, officiating at first base.
It was pretty amazing when we took the field. Just incredible. Like, dream came true. Like, the dream actually came true.
The crowd at Sunday's series final celebrated another piece of sports history in the making, as did the players, many of whom recall Powell's work umpiring AAA games and during spring training.
Can't imagine how hard it is for her to have come up, and everyone says it's probably told her it was impossible, but to be able to be part of that, and they made a big deal out of it, as it should be.
Powell says this has always been her goal from when she started as a high school umpire more than 30 years ago, continuously progressing up the ranks before getting the call from the MLB.
I always wanted to umpire. Like, I knew I had the bug. I had it in my DNA, and then making it a career. When I realized, wow, maybe I could be a major leaguer, then I just went for it.
Analysts say Powell is leading by example.
It's not like tomorrow there are going to be a whole bunch, but I would expect that at the umpire training schools that there'll be a spike in female participants.
Powell is expected to be in the MLB's regular umpiring crew rotation, and she also predicts there'll be less fuss and fanfare as more women and girls get into making the calls in all levels of pro ball, right up to the majors. Phil Pishanok, CBC News, Toronto.
That's courtesy of CBC, our friends over in Canada. Your thoughts on that, Michael?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was watching one video and they said that first pitch was actually a ball. What a way to make history.
She's not alone, though, man.
Yeah, I know.
These ups today, man.
Yeah, but that's a tremendous accomplishment. So I definitely want boohoo on it. And so that's an amazing feat to accomplish. So kudos.
Definitely kudos, man. I mean, just go do the job, and you're gonna miss calls just like the guys do. They all do it. But my thing is, when are we gonna see a female? I mean, you know women's basketball as well as anybody in the country. When are we gonna see a woman coaching a men's Division I team? We've had our friend Coach Teresa Lawrence do it for a few games at Tennessee State.
Right.
But you know what I'm talking about. Full time, and then the NBA.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are leaning towards Dawn being the first one, and then Becky. Becky and Dawn are seem to be the front runners as of now that'll probably be able to do that. But the bottom line is, will they be able to? I mean, because matter of fact, didn't the Lakers have a woman coaching during summer league?
I didn't see. I didn't watch a lot of summer league.
I
know for some team. I know the Spurs had a
that was Becky.
female.
But she's
that might have been Becky,
right? But she's doing she's with the.
She's in the WNBA.
You're right. I think New York Liberty. I think she's in New York Liberty. So the bottom line is that, will they have to go through that coaching in summer league to make sure the guys get acclimated to their style? Or will they just say, hey, look, we're going to make a big splash and bring Dawn in here because she's a multiple national champion? I don't know. I don't know if, ironically, would the first women's coach be from the women's college basketball? It might even be Gino, because Gino has 12 championships now. So, I mean, it could be one of those. And I'm sure women would be upset about that. Like, we can't even get from our own women's basketball, our first representative is going to be another male. So what have we really accomplished? So
when I worked at the Banner in Nashville,
I
also covered, not only did I cover Tennessee State, I covered some, University of Tennessee basketball with Coach Pat Head-Summitt. There was no doubt in my mind she was the best coach on that campus, period. Football, basketball, baseball. She could do it. It's just, and I think Dawn could do it. I'm convinced Dawn could do it. And even if she can't, I mean, how many guys have we seen that are just terrible coaches?
Yeah, that's true. But
do you think somebody's going to eventually?
Yeah, I think it will happen eventually. And like I said, now is probably the time because we got all kind of topsy-turvy stuff going on in our country. And I think somebody's going to finally say, you know what?
Oh, we do? I didn't notice.
Yeah. We're gonna have to finally make a big splash here and change things, especially, if we get more expansion. Now it's like, okay, 32 teams and, we still can't get one woman in here. So maybe that would be the impetus to get a woman in there is to say, hey, we're expanding 2 more teams. It's either now or never. So maybe that'll be it. And then, maybe you'll catch Dawn where she said, okay, maybe she gets another national championship and says, okay, now I'm ready to find greener pastures.
I think it'll happen in college basketball before the NBA, though. Because I think Dawn would be, because I think Dawn has the personality and to go in anybody's locker room and cuss anybody out that needs cussing out. And she ain't backing down to nobody. Yeah. So.
That could happen too, but I still think that one of these NBA teams, especially like I said, if they have expansion, let's say if they give Seattle back a team, that might be a good area where you can say, okay, bring a women's team up here, okay? And then, of course, Vegas. You get a team in Vegas, and maybe we're going to make a splash here in Vegas. Okay, here we are. Area and all this stuff. Let's make a real splash and have her as a coach. And how happy would Asia be? She's over there with the Aces, and then her former coach, college coach that made her into the great player she is now. She's coaching over in the NBA, the NBA equivalent. So that would be very interesting to see that dynamic. So, like I said, either Becky Hammon or Dawn Staley, I would think would be the ideal person to break that barrier.
If Tara was younger, I'm sure she has no interest in anything like that. But could a young Tara have done it?
I would think so because, but she, I don't know if she would want to, because I think from all the time I've been covering her, she always championed women's basketball, especially women's basketball on the West Coast. Because she said we always get overlooked out here in the West Coast, and then women's basketball doesn't get the accolades and all this stuff. So I think she might have been so entrenched in making sure women's basketball becomes great. And I think she did, for her to take over the reins after Pat passed away. It was a great thing. And for her to get that championship, that third championship, that really solidified her. So I think, I don't think she would have the interest to really do it, but I think she had the skills to do it because
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, she could have done. Hey, we just got a couple more minutes left, Mike. Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
5th round draft pick. Not bad.
Let's not forget, even he gets all the headlines, but Trey Lance also had a very good opening preseason game.
He did.
Yeah. So those
just
two.
My Lions, in fact, he did. Did he play well the other night also?
I don't know what happened the second game, so that's what I'm saying. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I think, that first game, everybody's like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe Shanahan, shot him out the way for early. And I was like, why? What was I trying to tell you guys? Because of that. And think about it. Think about this, Ricky. I haven't been to a game ever since I challenged him on that. They won't admit that they're probably trying to shelter me from there. I don't want to say shelter because that sounds like they're being kind.
They're trying to shelter me.
Trying to push me back. Yeah, because once
You
again,
rock the boat. You can
right,
rock the boat.
but it wasn't like I was berating him. It wasn't like I was trying to
That's the
chastise him.
question.
I said, do you really think you gave him a fair evaluation, especially when he was on the drive for a touchdown, and you said, hold it, take a knee, and let's let our rookie kicker come in and win the game. Like, if you want to see how good he is, let him get the touchdown. It's preseason. So then all the other reporters were like, dapping me up and all that stuff. And the next thing I know, oh yeah, we have no room. We have no room, and I haven't been back to a game since. So I said, yeah, okay. But I'm like this. If that's the case, I have no problem with it because I'm gonna be me. You're not gonna be sitting here, dictating what I ask or trying to boo-hoo whatever I'm trying to say because I'm there, to try to espouse the questions that my public wants to know. So that's what I'm doing. Just like when Giannis did the job. Was that?
That's your job.
Exactly. But like when Giannis made the statement about not having been a failure or whatever, and you say you liked it, I would just wonder what would have happened if I was still covering the Bucks in Milwaukee. And he said that. I said, come on, Giannis. You can't do that because it's almost like you're not taking any kind of ownership of the teams not attaining what they should have been attaining, especially being the number one seed. I say, no, you're a likable guy, but I just
but it's okay to have. We definitely disagree on that one.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's okay to have that. But I just got a couple more minutes here, Mike. I want to get to your thoughts on Shedur's performance. I mean, he has to be the most scrutinized fifth-round player in the history of the NFL.
Especially when a sixth-round pick was coddled and called the GOAT for not doing anything.
Yeah, and nobody was looking at Brady when he came in.
That's what I'm saying. So for him to stumble up into the starting lineup and all of a sudden now saying, well, only reason they won all that is because of Brady, not Belichick. And I'm like, okay, now we're being ridiculous. But as for Shedeur, though, yeah, that was good to see. And then for him to also be critical on his performance, saying that he could be a lot better, and he apologized to his father, saying that there's a couple of reads I missed, and that one scramble play where he, I'm surprised they didn't call intentional grounding, but he had to try to escape and then ended up with the sack because I think he was behind the line. So there's a couple things. I think he overthrew one player, but that one play the pass he got for a touchdown, which was a dime where he threaded the needle.
That was a great throw.
Yeah, that was great. And then there was another one where he got in the middle of the end zone, which was a nice pass. So overall, yeah, he looked good. But yeah, if you are self-critical and you know what you did wrong, that means that you have the aptitude to improve on your game. And then next thing you know, you pretty much played a perfect game because you knew how to correct your mistakes.
Man, so I cheer for this kid and for his pop simply because so many people just hate on them, man. I mean, Deion's the same person he's been all his life. He's brash, he's confident, he's cocky, and he backs up a lot of that stuff.
I totally agree. And then we know who's going through that in the NBA equivalents. It's LeBron and Bronny. So, that's the weird thing about that is that both of these guys did a great job at raising their boys. And
Absolutely.
Then think about it. Bryce should be coming along the way sooner. So it's just like Shiloh and Shedeur, both of them in the league. And instead of applauding him, saying that is absolutely amazing, we'll say, you guys.
Here's a touchdown pass. Here's a touchdown pass. That's a great throw.
You need to be humble. So
yeah.
Of course, Archie, what a genius! Look at his two quarterbacks in the NFL, and they both won Super Bowls. Yeah. Never got any negative feedback, even when he said that Eli's not going to San Diego.
Yeah,
that's a dutiful father. What a great man.
Well,
double standards.
we all know how our friends in the media, it's our friends in the media that shape that narrative.
Exactly.
But Mike, I got to get out of here. We're back at it, man. And to our viewers out there, thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back sometimes next week. I'm going to have to go out of town for a couple of days, but I'll let you know when I get back, Mike, and we'll let our viewers know. But until then, from my friend and frat brother, Mike Roberson, I'm Rickey Hampton. See you next time. I'll be in touch, Michael.
All right. Peace. Yo.
Yo.